friends, you may be wondering why we haven't been as active on here. So I wanted to share a little bit about what's been going on in our life since last September. It's not great news about Boomer's health, and we have some fun, exciting updates on what we're going to be doing this year. To give a little bit of backstory, at the end of September last year, I was about to go to India for some of my own health issues that I've been having to get some treatments. And the day before I was supposed to leave, Boomer started throwing up huge amounts of blood. We rushed him to the emergency room. They did x-rays, they did all blood work, and everything came back pretty normal. We didn't really know what was going on. He was given a bunch of anti-nausea medication, sent home. I went to India. Luckily, Dan was going to be home with Boomer, which is the only reason I went. Boomer was starting to do well, but he started to have some more stomach issues further down the line. And in a few weeks, he was pretty lethargic, wasn't interested in food, which is so unlike Boomer, and we panicked. And he spent the entire day at the hospital again. They did a whole bunch of tests. They did an ultrasound. They thought that there might be some bacteria in his stomach, so gave him a round of antibiotics. So he was on antibiotics for 3 weeks. They said it could either be bacteria or it could be IBD. So we gave him the antibiotics first. He was doing okay on it till October 31st when he threw up huge amounts of blood again, which was really, really sad and heartbreaking because at that point he had been on antibiotics for 3 weeks, really high dose antibiotics. So we were really upset, didn't know what was going on, and we thought maybe at that point that it might be the food that's causing an issue. So we made sure to stick to a certain kind of protein. Eventually, at the end of November, he started to throw up multiple times in one night. Poor guy threw up blood one day, the next day was just, luckily it wasn't blood, but it was his food, multiple times in one night. And we realized that maybe he's allergic to beef, which we had been giving him. So we went back to the vet. We realized at that point that maybe it could be IBD, which is irritable bowel disease syndrome, where his body is allergic to some kind of protein. We went back to what is the gold standard, chicken and rice. He was doing okay for a week, and then he started having really bad stools. It turned out that he was allergic to chicken as well. So then we realized that we might have to take a novel protein approach. We started giving him venison, which is new to Boomer, and he was a big fan. He started venison early December, and so far, fingers crossed, he's been doing really well. Poor guy can't get any treats when he's out and about. People want to give him treats at stores, but we can't let him have any treats because right now he can have only venison-based food or treats. I think given all of those scares and huge piles of blood, we think that maybe Boomer's digestive issues are doing okay, which is really positive news. But while we did the ultrasound back in October to see what was going on in his stomach, the doctor also noticed that he had a small nodule or a growth on his left adrenal gland. We're told to recheck in 2 to 3 months and see if it could be an issue. But before we do that, they also wanted to rule out something called Cushing's disease, which can be pretty tough to handle for dogs. So he spent another day at the vet getting tested for Cushing's, and it came back negative, which was another sign of really good news. On December 31st, he had a recheck of his ultrasound for his adrenal gland to see what had happened to the nodule. Unfortunately, we got some really bad news that the growth had gone up 40% in just 3 months, which is really big. It went from 1.75 centimeters to 2.5, which is a pretty big growth on such a small gland. We were pretty upset about the news because the treatment plan for this is for him to have surgery and have his adrenal gland removed. We met with the surgeon today. We really like the surgeon. He was pretty positive about Boomer's prognosis or his recovery because right now we caught it at a really good time. The growth hasn't expanded into other organs, But one of the big concerns with this surgery is when you remove the adrenal gland, it's very easy for there to be bleeding issues. Bleeding can be really dangerous. So, I mean, that is one of the potential complications. The doctor was pretty positive and hopeful that that wouldn't happen to Boomer. He's now scheduled for surgery on February 4th. He's going to have his left adrenal gland removed. They're doing a surgery with this process called laparoscopy, or I don't know how you say it, but they won't be cutting his entire abdomen open. They'll be making small holes to put in different devices to try to get this out. If he does end up bleeding, they would then cut his stomach. So he's still gonna be completely shaven on his belly area. The recovery should be pretty good, and at that point, they will get the tumor tested, see if it's one that is potentially causing any other type of issue, and that would further mean down the line that he'll have some kind of hormone replacement if needed, or if it's the big C, which I'm not going to say, then we might have to do more checks and things like that. For me, I know. Ooh, I'm getting emotional making this video, but I'm making it to kind of explain why we've been quiet and also just to give you an update on what's going on in this fluffy guy's life. I'm sorry. I'm really hopeful. I think that Boomer is strong. He's only 6.5. And so I think he'll make a full recovery. I really hope so. But I'm also making this video to share my experience, because when it comes to dogs, there's just not enough data out there for people to figure out what's going on with their dog. It took us so long to figure out what was going on with his GI stuff. And so I'm just making this video in the hopes that it might help someone else whose dog might be having similar symptoms. And if your dog has undergone adrenalectomy, which is removal of the adrenal glands, if you don't mind and leave us a comment on how it went, what the procedure was like, were there any complications, that would be super helpful just for me to have before his surgery next month. But I don't want to end this video on a sad note. We're very hopeful, and I also wanted to share some fun, exciting new plans that we have for 2025. Boomer is going on a pretty big trip for a bucket list to go see the Northern Lights. I'm not going to share anything more about it, but I really hope that by the time the trip happens, Boomer is fully healed from his surgery. He's back to his normal, happy self, and we can share all of the fun content from our travels with you. We will be doing a lot of hiking, a lot more traveling later this summer. I'm going to share all of those details in a future video. We'll probably start to make more regular videos for y'all. I'm going to be focusing all my energy and attention on Boomer and Boomer recovering and Boomer feeling his best. That's you! And then I will keep you all updated on how the surgery goes. If you can't find any updates on here, it's easier for me to sometimes share updates on Instagram. Really appreciate all the love you've given us in all these past years. This guy has to get better. He will get better, and we'll be back making videos for you in no time. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone. Ah, I love you, Boom. Can you give me a kiss? Oh, yes.